appeared on the New York Times bestseller list, but received mixed reviews for its content. Some social media users criticized the poetry to the point that it became a meme alongside some of her music. We can see this tweet here of somebody saying, Gabby Hanna saying the other girl hasn't proven that she's intellectual enough to understand art. Meanwhile, Gabby's writing shit like this and calling it poetry. Uh-oh. And we can see here relative, time is relative, beauty is relative, family is relatives. So just kind of like roasting some of her poetry from this book. On April 19th, 2021, after tweeting about her ADHD, how her ADHD affected the writing process for her 2020 book, Dandelion, Hanna took to Twitter to respond to criticism of adult lessons 3.5 years after it first rolled in. Kind of seems a little bit weird. Like, normally if you're like, I mean, obviously I think people should be more receptive to criticism to begin with. Makes you a better creator. In this case, makes you a better writer. I think it's important to listen to criticism and understand it and be more receptive to it. Clearly, we've known in the past, though, Gabby Hanna is not one of those people. She prefers to kind of have meltdowns on Twitter whenever somebody criticizes her. But it's interesting because normally if you have a situation like this, if you're going to complain about something like that, you're going to complain about it when the book comes out, not 3.5 years later after it's come out. Tiredcast, thank you for the $4.99. Have a good stream. Thanks, buddy. I appreciate that. But yeah, 3.5 years after the book released, you want to complain about the critics now. Kind of weird. Because I frankly don't give a fuck anymore. I think it's really lame that a bunch of non-creative, insecure, neurotypical people dragged my poetry for months for views on YouTube and TikTok instead of creating their own art, she said. I still can't believe a funny, engaging, thematical poetry book about sexual assault, mortality, child abuse, mental illness, and suicidal ideation as my first release, and all people cared to share was link in bio and family is relatives. So apparently she wasn't too fond of some of the critiques that people made about her book. It says she then shared screenshots of critical reviews of her.
Angry Orchard is sweet. You gonna use that kind of language in front of grandma?
Book from Rachel Oates, a pop culture analysis YouTuber who often reviews poetry, with titles such as "My dog is a better poet than Gabby Hanna" and "Gabby Hanna's poetry is bad." So it's not even like in the past we've seen Gabby get upset about drama channels. You know, people like me who report on drama pertaining to social media influencers, stuff like that. We've definitely seen her complain about this stuff, and she's not the only one. We've seen a lot of creators complain about drama channels and try to get drama channels deplatformed and bitch to YouTube about drama channels to try and get rid of them and stuff like that. You know, it happens time and time again, but it's not even just drama channels anymore. Now she's like complaining about critics that criticize her in any capacity. She put out a product that people are going to have an opinion about, in this case a book, and in this case there are people who didn't like her book. It's just part of the gig. If you put out some kind of finished product for people to enjoy, even something like the YouTube video you're watching right now, there may be people who are critical of me for this YouTube video. And you know what? That's fine. I'm putting myself out in front of a public audience, and that public audience may have things to say about the content that I put out. But I have to be receptive to that criticism. I either have to listen to it and be like, okay, I appreciate the criticism, but, I don't really see that I need to make the changes that you're suggesting in your criticism. Or I could look at the criticism and say, hey, that was a good idea. I think I might apply that to future videos or future streams and stuff like that, right? But Gabby has a history of not being very receptive to criticism at all. We can see this tweet here from this I am Bob Joe 1. Please, I'm neutral towards you, but a lot of the criticism you received were and are valid. When you create art and put it out into the world, that's just part of the process. Exactly. When you create anything and share it with a public audience, there are going to be people who are critical. And you have to be willing to accept that criticism and hopefully use it to make yourself a better creator. Some of the best critics have never created the art they critique. Learn from this, you have potential. To which she responded with just a bunch of complaints about people criticizing her. I also just want to say that Rachel Oatmeal took the time to write a book from the perspective of a dog, since I write mine from the perspective of an abused child, to mock me. yet she's still too much of a coward to release under her own name. What a loser, laughing my ass off, Hannah said in reference to Oates' parody book, Dog-a-Lessons. Yikes! Like, how bad do you have to be at receiving criticism to respond to criticism by shitting on someone else's work and basically throwing a temper tantrum on Twitter? And this isn't the first time we've seen them throw tantrums like this on Twitter. This is a recurring thing with Gabby Hanna. Hannah said Oates deleted her Twitter because a mutual friend of theirs started calling her out on her abusive, manipulative, relentless abuse towards Hannah, you know, like a cowardly loser. Jesus. Take a chill pill, Gabby. God damn. No one cares about her unless she's talking about me, literally, Hannah tweeted, along with a screenshot of a Get Ready With Me video that had 4,000 views. Oates has roughly 200,000 subscribers on YouTube, and Hannah has 5.7 million. So talk about punching down. And keep in mind, there's certain situations where I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to punch down. If you have somebody who's constantly talking shit about you, and it's like total bullshit, I don't see anything wrong with clapping back. But in this case, it just seems like she can't handle criticism. And so she's clapping back at someone in Hannah, but this is a little disappointing. Let's go ahead and let's play this Twitter video. Therapy, whether it's taking medication, whatever the case may be, right? I do what I need to do to get by with my mental health problems. Clearly, Gabby's not doing that. So whatever you need to do to get your head back in the game, fucking do it. Because having these meltdowns every month or two ain't it, Chief. So she says, seek help. Clearly you're having some sort of breakdown again, and I understand. I've been there too. But this won't help. Please just go speak to your friends or family and calm down. So this woman, even though Gabby's basically shitting on her every opportunity she gets, this woman's actually trying to give her some good advice to get some help, right? And her response is to blast her in her story, share her private message with the world, and cry about how she blocked her. You've been harassing her on social media. Why wouldn't she block you? Like, what? I don't know. Hannah said Oates was gaslighting her in that message. Oates released one final message on her Instagram story saying she stood by her reviews of Hannah's work. This is what she had to say. By the way, I didn't delete anything, but some of my stories did disappear when I blocked Gabby. That's on IG, not me. I stand by everything I said. I stand by every assessment I made of her writing, and I stand by the fact that she's acting like a child, bringing all this out of nowhere. But I also stand by the fact that I said I think she's having some kind of breakdown again. Not that this is a bad thing, but that it is a thing she needs to address. Like I said, I understand it. I've been there too. But it's not okay to just start bitching about people and getting hundreds of your fans to tell me to kill myself. That's not okay. On the one hand, I hope Gabby gets help and support from her family and friends. On the other, it's not my responsibility to offer that, so I'm just blocking and ignoring her and her incredibly toxic fans. That's all I'll say on this. I'm getting back to my life now. And then she shared this saying, what a toxic, manipulative, ugly person. I can say that because she's ugly on the inside. Wow! Gabby, holy smokes. Take a chill pill. Hannah repeated her attacks on Oates for several more posts before shifting her attention to drama and commentary YouTuber Angelica Oles, who defended Oates against Hannah in a tweet. I just think it's unnecessary, Oles said in response to Hannah's tweet, shaming how many views Oates' personal content had gotten. Say your part about criticism, hate, whatever you want to call it, but multiple tweets calling someone obsessive and a bully while being obsessive and a bully back is an interesting way to go about things. And I gotta be honest, I've never had like the fondest opinions of Angelica Oles. She often gives like really bad takes and stuff like that. But having said that, I have to agree with her on this one. Hannah fired back by including a screenshot of one of Oles' videos in which she called Hannah a bully by grouping Oles and Oates together as narcissistic, confused, goofy ass bitches. Wham. Is it unnecessary to call someone a bully, Angelica? Is that mean, toxic, a gross generalization made at least in the past? And asked if that was the reason she was fighting with people on Twitter. So she's making the argument that she's using this to promote another music release. I'm saying a new song is coming in about a week. That's why we needed to get you trending. Anyway, job done. You're welcome. I'll see you in 6 months for another round. In August of 2020, Hanny returned to YouTube after having what she called a breakdown. She claimed that YouTube shadow banned her and announced new music, including a diss track about Trisha Paytas at the same time. I'm pretty sure you guys remember that. That was a huge breakdown. She kept saying she was being shadow banned, but everybody who looked at her channel, they're like, yo, your content's loading up fine. Why do you think you're shadow banned? Like, everything's working properly. She even complained about how her latest music video at the time wasn't showing up in recommended when she was literally on the trending page. It really didn't make any sense. Gabby Hanna logging into Instagram every month to make a 5-part documentary on everyone that's ever looked at her strangely. Oof.
I know you like to say that women...
This whole outburst started because have called her an embarrassment and cringe for doing things she seems to earnestly enjoy, which can be tough for any artist to hear. And here's the thing. Not everybody's going to like everything you do. I'm sure her audience sees these things and they find them to be very funny or very genuine, and they enjoy when she does them. And that's, if you're someone who, doesn't like the negativity, focus on the positivity from your audience. If it bothers you that much and you can't handle it, focus on the positive stuff. Just... Sing it on about